No guesses, no prizes for guessing where we're going to start this hour. Inside the Mirror on the outrage over the one-way ticket to Rwanda. We did have the minister on a little bit earlier on, Tom Pursglove. I don't know if you managed to listen to it, but his position is people should not be crossing the channel in these small boats. And people, I'm sure, would agree that we do not want to see any loss of life. It's just the question is how to deal with it. And this is the government's plan.
Nobody, absolutely, he doesn't need to tell those people that. Nobody risks taking their babies and their children and their families on these perilous journeys. I think it's absolutely right for the government to pursue as hard as they can the traffickers, and for the entire European collective of nations in the EU and outside to help. We take fewer refugees. Let me tell you, we take fewer refugees than Tanzania, than Pakistan, some of the poorest countries in the world. So this idea, and certainly less than anywhere in Europe, the major nations in Europe, I think there is a more humane way of dealing with this. And if the government is opting for this, I was very relieved that, the Mirror says there is almost universal outrage that we're doing this to the people who are crossing the channel. And I hope they're right. I fear there are a section of the population really thinks these people do what they're doing because they want our good life, not because they're absolutely desperate. We had Syrians when the Russians were practicing what they're doing in Ukraine. For 10 years, we had Syrian refugees. Is it so hard to see how one leads to the other? What would you and I do if we were in Syria and Afghanistan? Would we not try and get out in whatever way we could? This isn't going to stop the movement of the peoples because it's desperation.
Yeah, and
it's just wrong.
And indeed, as we almost got the minister to concede, we're probably likely to see numbers increasing because they've made this announcement. But Nigel, take us inside the Telegraph, page 10, and always when we're talking about the immigration policy, part of the rationale given is that the NHS is being stretched to breaking point because of migrants. Now, you can debate whether or not that latter part is true, but certainly, as this story provides evidence, the NHS is pretty much at breaking point once again.
Yes, it is, and a lot of it's to do with COVID, obviously, and the backlog that it caused. What the Telegraph is focusing on is a retired 87-year-old seamstress, Jean Shepherd, and she had to wait 31 hours on a hospital trolley in Nottingham. And it comes as other figures are now showing that 1 in 20 are now waiting more than 12 hours in A&E before they can get admitted to hospital. Ambulances are taking over an hour. Obviously, waits for treatment are at a record high at 6.2 million for people waiting for operations. I think that after the cost of living crisis, this is the next big thing for the government to get the NHS sorted out. I've just had a recent experience with it. My wife fell off a horse and broke her pelvis, so we've experienced A&E in hospitals and so on. And what we discovered about the system was that individual doctors and nurses were absolutely brilliant. They were brilliant with their care, brilliant with their treatment, brilliant with the time they gave us. But at successive areas along the way, the system itself broke down. And that is what I think that Boris Johnson needs to address. It's actually looking at the NHS and looking at the organisation of it so we can actually get on with clearing the backlog. It's not just about money.
Certainly isn't. Yasmin, take us inside the Daily Mail and indeed back to the Rwanda story. And it's all about the conditions that might well be awaiting those who are being sent to Rwanda, 4,000 miles away.
Well, exactly. They're going to apparently stay in these plush hotels. It's just nonsense, it's nonsense. If this is what the Rwandan government, which never tells the truth to its own people, is now telling us that this is where they're going to house them, really, please, take it with a pinch of salt. And also, there's great poverty in Uganda. I've got lots of Rwandan friends here and in Uganda who tell me that actually the local population is absolutely furious about this. That with all that they have to put up with and what they're trying to do with their own lives, why is their government agreeing to something like this, which is going to create, at best, upheavals in every part of their fragile social care system? Talk about our National Health Service. Imagine what it'll be like for them. And of course, it's not, the cost of how much it's going to cost us to send these people over there. I hope it's never going to happen. But this hotel rubbish, just take it with a pinch of salt, please.
Nigel, page 13 of the Mirror. Now, viewers will have their own view on the allegation that many are making that this announcement on Rwanda was some form of dead cat. But the fact remains, we would probably be talking an awful lot more about the rampant criminality in Downing Street were it not for this story. But some still think we might be able to get to a confidence vote at some point.
Yes, and this is Tobias Ellwood, who is the chair of the Commons Defence Committee, and he's been a long-term critic of Boris Johnson, but I think that he hits the nail on the head about where this actually goes next. And as it should be the voters who actually decide Boris Johnson's fate. And what Tobias Ellwood says is that should local elections go really badly for the Tories, he thinks that Boris Johnson should call a confidence vote in himself. And that does seem to me the way forward. Obviously, MPs have held back from putting in letters of no confidence in the Prime Minister, largely because he's tackling the crisis in Ukraine. But there will come a time when he is going to have to face the music on this one. And I think May the 5th is going to be it, when we see what voters think about the Tory leadership, what they think about Partygate. And if that does go badly, it seems the right thing to do that the Prime Minister should say, do you still have confidence in me? I'm not holding my breath he'll do it, but that would be...
Yasmin, you've got 20 seconds. Page 20 of the Daily Mirror is about top 10, the top 20 DIY bugbears. I have to admit, I'm very much a fan of getting a man in. Sorry,
exactly,
calm yourself.
Exactly.
Sorry, I've just realised what I said there.
Marry them. I think I just married them. I've been married most of my life to two men, and they were very good at DIY. That's one of the main reasons, really, why one should have a husband.
Brilliant, great. And on that note, we will conclude. Cheers, Yasmin. Nigel, we'll see you definitely next up, possibly Yasmin as well. Thanks very much, guys. But you can stay where you are. After the break, we will, of course, be returning to the situation in Ukraine as a Russian warship has sunk off its coast. We'll get an update on the humanitarian situation in the country with the International Red Cross. That's next.